Get down, 50 down, 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 get down, get this thing, I did get down, 150, hey, 60, 60.
Welcome, everyone, to the 2024 inaugural edition of the Fasig-Tipton Focus podcast. We are pleased to be joined today by Rich Mendez, also known as Rich Music, with Rich Music. We're going to get to know Rich here over the next 30 to 45 minutes and learn about his involvement in business and in horse racing as well. And we're breaking new ground. This is our first ever Zoom call today that we're doing, so we're pleased that Rich could join us today. Rich, thanks so much for joining us on The Focus.
My pleasure. Good to be here.
So let's talk about your involvement in Rich Music. That is the name of your company, and you started it in 2007. Talk about the formation of that company, if you would, and where you're at today with it.
Yeah, so originally I was in the car business, and 2007, I have a brother, younger brother that's 16 years younger than me, and he started getting a little into trouble, and kind of asked him, I said, well, you're going to have to do something, because I was his father figure. And he said, well, I like to do music. So I said, okay, I'll help you. I had no idea anything about the music business, but I said, I'll help you however I could. And so we were just going, just asking questions and looking for different people in the different industry, going to studios, while I was still working and still being a dad and a husband and everything like that. But I wanted to help him. And we met someone by the name of Aton in Orlando, which now he's probably one of the biggest A&Rs, what they call A&Rs in the business at Warner Music. But he helped us along. We got a record. And I think maybe 6 to 8 months later, we got him a deal. We got him a record deal, at the time, his name was Young Jock. Huge artist at the time. Anyway, so we started that way, but he quickly realized that that's not what he wanted to do, because it was hip hop, and hip hop at the time was a little aggressive, I guess. Let's just use that word. And he wasn't that way. He was more of a calm, cool kid, and you'll probably see him at the sales with me here and there. A lot of tattoos, but I have tattoos as well. So he's just a good kid, and a couple incidences happened, and he's like, Rich, I can't do this. I don't want to do this. And so we stopped, and I never really listened to Latin music. My mom was the one I do speak Spanish, and she's always the one that, listened to Spanish music. And we were at a barbershop. My brother and my son were at a barbershop, and they knew he was in the music business. And they said, hey, this kid that you hear, because they had like one of his CDs in at the time, or iPod. And they said, he's really talented. He's really good. And people were listening to his music. So they called me and they said, listen to this. And they liked his melodies, because either one of my brother or my son really speak Spanish, but they understand the melodies and the music part of it. And man, long story short, we signed him. And I had no idea, again, how to break an artist on the Spanish side. And we got very, very blessed, I guess, and lucky. Maybe he had a ton of good music in his computer, but just not out to the masses. And at the time, it was just coming into streaming. Spotify started kind of kicking in. Pandora was a big one as well, Apple. So we had no idea how we were going to make any money. But we started, and I think maybe 6 to 8 months later, we get a phone call. Hey, we'd like to book Justin. His name is Justin Quiles. We'd like to book Justin. And we were surprised. They offered us, I think, $6,000. And that's it just started kind of snowballing from there. And we started, we actually literally started working out of this office that I'm in here now. And from there, he became he was nominated for Grammys, for Billboard Awards. We signed three other artists, and they've all become really, really successful. We've been very, very blessed. And then, and here we are.
This is kind of a crazy story for me. I mean, it's a grassroots, like just a family thing you wanted to start out, and now you've got success on the Billboard. I think I read on the website you had one year where you ended like with 4 or 5 guys on the Billboard charts, and that was in basically a 10-year period from when you first started.
Yeah, 2018 and 19, we were probably the biggest independent label in the world on our side and the Latin side. Which, listen, we talk about this a lot. We don't we don't look back and say, okay, we have this, we have that. It was just a lot of work, right? We just went into it with eyes closed, and we like to say we were just relentless, and we had no idea what we were doing. We had made it to the top, and and it hit us one day. I was doing a panel, my first panel, and right after the panel, all these major record labels were coming up to me, congratulating us on what we have done so far, and so it's been an interesting ride. And now we have, I want to say, 4 or 5 superstars
That's
on our roster.
amazing. That is absolutely amazing. How
It's
do
been
you?
fun, but there's a lot of heartaches in there too.
Well, yeah, I'm sure there is, and I mean, is there like, and we'll touch on this a little bit when we get kind of switch over to talking about horses a little bit. But is there an artist that you had a chance to sign that you didn't sign that was kind of like, man, that was the one that got away?
Yes. So we originally, her name is Carol G. We sat down with her years ago when we first started. I remember with her and her father. And if you know who Bad Bunny is, which I think everybody knows who Bad Bunny is, Tony surprised the hell out of me when I asked him who he was, and he knew who he was. And so, well, that was it's at the other side of things. But Carol G is like probably the biggest female artist in our side. She's actually featured in the new movie Griselda that just came
Oh
out on
yeah, on
Netflix.
Netflix, sure, yeah.
But she's in that movie. But she sells out not only arenas, but she sells out stadiums. So that was the one that I said, man, that would have been nice to sign her.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. So,
But you know what? It's it is what it is. We still do music with her. We've produced for her. We've had tracks with her with our artists. She's been on our side. She's been on our records as well. So we still do work together.
so you this basically starts with your brother, you said, correct? And now your son has kind of taken over into the lead role on this. But it's not like, I mean, do you just Google, hey, how to start a record label? I mean,
And listen,
what's the impetus there?
it's the same thing. My brother-in-law says that I have I'm gonna use the good words, right? That I have a horseshoe above here, right? Um, Even in the car business, look, I think from when I was young, having nothing and wanting to make it, it's just the tenacity that I have of just wanting to learn, right? It's the same thing in the music. I had no idea in the horse business. And our first year, I think we sold 5. My first year, fully involved in it, we had $5 or $6 million horses that we were able to sell. And it's just learning kind of the hard way, right? So paying your dues in a lot of different ways. Because in the music business, we probably had some experiences that we could have cut out. In other words, maybe we spent $200,000 more than what we should have, just because people, they knew we were new and they knew we were just looking for information. But that's part of it. So
What's the ultimate goal for Rich Music, you think? I mean, do you want to be in the same category as Capitol Records? Do you want
no, that's a good question. So as an independent, you have two different ways to capitalize on everything, right? You can either sell masters, your catalog, or you can get gobbled up by a major. Um, in the Latin side, they don't gobble up as much as they do on the English side. So literally, we're probably in the process of selling most of our catalog right now, and staying um, as a small company because we've been blessed. So we're now starting to use our platform to pivot into different things.
so do you see yourself moving on from Latin music a little bit, going into other genres, or just kind of staying in
Not
this
necessarily other genres, because we've had a couple of different, like we had a hip hop artist, my brother, we had a Jamaican artist, but like we'll start producing our first movie in March, I think, of this year.
wow.
So the music will still be part of it because you always have to have a soundtrack. So entertainment will be somehow, some way, will be involved in it. Look, the horses is entertaining,
Yeah.
right? It's entertainment. So we'll be in it one way or the other.
That is excellent. So 2000, I believe on the website, 2020 is kind of when your son kind of takes more of a role with running the
Yeah.
company, and then does that free up your opportunity for the chances into horses a little bit? Is that when you start becoming more
So there
intrigued with
was
it, or where did you learn about horses or
yeah.
find
So in
that love?
2000, I'll tell you the story. My uncle was a jockey
Oh, okay.
back in the day, right? But I was never around him as much. He's Victor Sanchez. I'll say his name because a lot of people do know who he is. He works at he's the weighmaster at Gulfstream. He's been
Oh,
there for like
nice.
40 years. And so, I always watched it there, and my mom and my dad were hot walkers at the tracks all the time. I never had seen a track. I'd never been to one, but I knew that I liked it. I've always liked horses. There was something about it, and I just dreamt about having my own horses, my own farm. And I went in 2018. I went to Saratoga with my wife and my mom. That was the first time I had gone to Saratoga. And my mom calls my wife and says, "That's where Rich was conceived."
What?
Back in those bars.
It's,
You come literally from nothing, right? So that's why I found that out, and that's it, it's now I understand why.
yeah, very
And it's
serendipitous.
truly, yeah, it is. And then from there, the way I really got started into the horses, I bought my first property in 2018, I want to say, or 19, in Ocala, 20 acres, and the realtor, I had seen something on social media, some really pretty winglings, and I said, I'd like to buy a couple. I had no idea, literally had no idea, and so I call the realtor, and he says, "Yeah, I have somebody that can help you," and the person he sent was Randy, right? And me and Randy just hit it off. We hit it off. We ended up buying four of those winglings, and that's when everything COVID hit and everything. So we probably lost a little bit of money. I met Dean shortly after, and Randy. The story goes, Randy told Dean, he's like, "Man, I don't know if you're gonna get along with this guy because he's just like you. He's a lot like you, right?" So, but we've become, I mean, family. Really, really good friends. And so that's kind of how it all started. And I asked Dean one time, I said, "Dean, how can I get involved?" And he's like, "Okay, let's do this." And we started in, what was it, last year, 2022, we started buying, and we had a great year.
And so the Randy and Dean is Randy Hartley and Dean Dorenzo, for those who may not be familiar with Hartley
Yes,
Dorenzo, but that was your introduction, was to those guys
correct.
who have been mainstays, of course, with Fasig-Tipton and in the horse
Yep.
industry for decades now. So you start just kind of on a whim because you saw some pictures, and now all of a sudden you're with really one of the top outfits in the game.
Yeah, one of the things that I told them, I said, "Look, I come from this music business, from marketing and things like that." I said, and Dean, the story that he's told me, he was it wasn't any fun for him anymore. It wasn't fun. They weren't having a good time doing this, right? And so I said, "Well, let me do some of the marketing for you guys. Let me take over your social media, and let me do different things. Let me change your logo." And he allowed us. He said, "Do it." All, like, he never, even to today, he never says no. Because I think he believes in what we're doing, and we've been able to change some of that stuff. And so, seeing how excited I was by going to the barns pretty much almost every day for 6 months straight, I think it gave them some type of excitement as well, right? Seeing this novice person love them and loving the process, and them explaining every little piece to me was exciting to them. And then of course we go and we start selling, and we sell the Justify for 1.2 million, and we sell another 2-year-old for almost $1 million. We go to Saratoga Fasig, and we sell two for over $1 million, and it just became, everybody was super excited about it. We engaged in the social media. They love it. We started doing podcasts for them. Dean loves it. So we just that's kind of how it all started, and we, like I said, we've become really, really good friends.
And just kind of reinvigorated the whole thing, like you said, with the podcast, and now Dean's doing the
Yep.
podcast, and which are
Oh, he's
great.
lost weight. You got to see next time anybody sees him. The people who do know him, he's lost. He's like down to 190 pounds. He's
Wow,
he's he's a new
he's a
man.
new man. All because of you, Rich. All because of you.
No, 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 not because of me. Well, you know what? I'll take a little. So I bought him for Christmas. I bought him a an Apple Watch, and I said, Dean, you know, you're 60. I'm 53. He's 10 years older than me. And I said, Dean, you're getting up there. You like to ride a lot. I said, let me get. I'm gonna. This is your Christmas gift. I said, this thing, if you fall and you can't get up, this thing will call it will call the ambulance. And he's always busting my chops about it now, right? Because he's like, okay, I need to get fit. I need to get better. So we're more. I'm on the health side of things. So he's looking good. He's doing good.
Good for you. Good for you for lifting his spirits. That's good. He needed it. He needed a little jolt. So you've basically you've got some parallels here. You've built Rich Music from basically a family operation, and now you have joined forces with Hartley Dorenzo, and you're building your racing operation. Any parallels you see between your business life and basically,
Sure.
I mean, I know this is entertainment. You treat it as entertainment, but what are the parallels of trying to discover talent both with music and with
Yeah.
thoroughbreds?
There's so much. My son and I started comparing everything to the horse business and to like each other. So I've started this saying in the music business that the horses don't talk back, right? The artists, they could be a pain in the
Yeah.
opinions, of course, and you know, but the horses, man, they don't. But I tell you what, the difference, it's the same. We like to say, right, in our stable, we have four triple crown contenders, right? They're all superstars, right? When you have a graded one stakes winner, they're a superstar, right? But for you to be able to get to that triple crown, right? It takes a special horse. And for an artist, I'll give you an example of someone that a lot of people know. Say a Mark Anthony, right? Mark Anthony is a superstar,
Sure.
right? It takes a very special artist to do that. So yes, we're very picky. There's I don't know how many horses are born every year, right? But there's millions of artists out there inspiring to be artists, right? And there's only a few that make it, and it's the same thing. If you look at it, there's only a few horses that really can make it to that next level. So we look at it the same way.
And do you think it's similar in that the talent is there, or is it with an artist is at the right place at the right time? And maybe it's the same situation you think with a horse, if they get into the right hands.
Look, I absolutely. I think there's also some timing, right? As I was telling you before we came on, um, we so happened to stay on a horse that we sold um, for a leg or for 25% of the horse, and the horse first time out did amazing, right? He ran a 97 buyer figure, right? We didn't know what we were going to do, so it was the right time, right place, right people. And it's the same to the artist, the same way. We were at the right time at the barbershop, right, when we found Justin,
Yeah.
right? So a lot of times we physically never went out and looked at artists, looked for artists. Somehow, some way, they were brought into our surrounding, I guess, our circle. But we picked them as well. We said, okay, yeah, look, this kid has a tremendous voice. Same thing. This horse moves tremendously. So there's a lot of parallel in both sides.
And it's just having a good team, right? Like you say, you were able to
You
find the
have to.
artist with through a friend, and then basically you got connected with Dean and Randy through a realtor. It's all networking and just having a good team surrounding yourself.
I'm glad you said that. And Dean and I have talked about this with Randy and Josh, my son. I don't think you can be successful without a good team. There and a team that you can trust, right? A team that is going to do their job and do it the way you would do it if you're the leader of that team, right? Do it the way you would do it, or at least put the same energy and the same effort into it. But without a good team, look, uh, I'm sure just real quick you go to Bob Baffert's side. He's got a good team.
Yeah.
All these guys that are very successful, regardless of whatever good, bad, and indifferent, they've always have good teams, and that's so important in any of these businesses. Music, if I don't have the right people there, it's not going to be as successful.
We've seen that you've spoke about the parallels. What was something that was a little bit of a learning curve for you coming into the thoroughbred industry, or are you still learning about it day by day? What was perhaps the biggest thing you learned coming into it?
Man, I'll tell you the biggest difference is Colts and Phillies. Okay. I could tell you that the lesson that I've been taught and I've learned and I've seen it, right? I paid 1.3 million for Urban Legend. And he got the unfortunately his first start against Nysos, right? He's came in second twice. Um, but yet the Philly side of things, right? There's to me, I look at there's a residual situation, could possibly be a residual situation. We bought an intermission Philly last year that we're gonna race. She is, I believe, the granddaughter of, is it Good Colors, or is it what's the,
Of winning
she won the
color,
Kentucky
winning colors.
when, yes,
Yeah.
the granddaughter, right? So we know worst case scenario, we should be okay, right? Because of the pedigree, it's a filly. So that's the biggest look. I've learned a lot, and I'm still learning every single day. But I've learned how to watch a horse walk. I've learned about shin splints. I've learned listen about a ton. I
Something
get to
new
look
every
at
day,
X-rays.
probably.
What's that?
Probably something new every day that you learn about.
You listen when you're around there. Yes, absolutely, man.
Yeah.
Think about this. I go into an outfit that has 30, 35 years of experience, and here I come. I mean, I could learn literally every day. So any little bit that I can learn, I'll ask a ton of questions for sure.
It's funny that you brought up winning colors because she was owned by a guy named Gene Klein, who owned the San Diego Chargers, and I think he said something very similar to what you said, is that he enjoyed the horses because, unlike the players, they don't talk back and there's no contract disputes. I think he
I got a
alluded to
call
something of that.
after the Fasig Saratoga sale. um, I got a call from one of the managers that manages a big artist as well. Because I had posted, I reposted one of the ones that when you guys post out of the ring, and he says, "Why are you still even in this business? Why, like in the music business?" He goes, "Man, those guys, I'm sure they don't talk back to you." I said, "That's what I've been saying. They don't. They really don't."
That's
So it's
classic.
been a lot of fun. It really has been. And like I said, being with Dean and Randy has made it that much better. You kind of started close to the top, if not the top.
I would agree with that. You have mentioned that you've sold some horses, but then you race horses. What aspect do you enjoy about it? Because I think that's what is the beauty of thoroughbred racing, is there's so many avenues to get to it. There's the breeding side, there's the pin hooking side where you buy to resell, and then there's of course the racing side. What do you enjoy the most between
So
those three?
yeah, so the selling is always the best, right? Like when you're able to that you get that adrenaline going, and you have a horse that you paid a couple 100,000, you can get $1 million or double or triple your money. But for me, racing brings my family together. You know, I have a grandson that had open heart surgery when he was 4 months old, and he's now three, and thank God he's fully healthy. And my granddaughter, and we all get to go and enjoy those horses, and he loves it. To be able to carry him down to the paddock, and knows that he thinks every horse's name is Uncle Mo, because one of the first horses that we bought was by an Uncle Mo. So, but he's starting to learn a little bit, but he loves it. He goes to the ranch, to the farm out there in Ocala. He has his own. Today he was picking up poop, But I think for me on the racing side, um, it's just being able to celebrate that day with all of us together is what excites me.
You talked about staying in for a piece of a horse, and I believe is that Victory Avenue that you guys stayed
Yes,
in on, who ran on Pegasus weekend, if I'm not mistaken.
correct.
Um, what was it like purchasing him and now being still involved with him with the racing partnership?
So that horse was special, not because he's an arrogant. He casted really bad when he was a year, but since when we first bought him, he almost died. He was I would say hours. If we didn't get to him when we got to him, he probably had maybe an hour or two to live. Dean quickly took him down to the vet and put him into the what's it called, hyper chamber, and completely has, when you see him now to when I saw him then, the care that he got and watching everyone really taking care of this horse. Um, for me to see him run the other day was inspiring, and kind of the same thing that I like to, for me, when you have nothing or you lose everything, which we did in 2008, and you come back and not quit, that horse never quit. He did not quit. He wanted to live, he wanted to run. He's a little bit of a cuckoo sometimes, that was inspiring for me. It was so much fun to see him. Look, he could have come in dead last that day, but he did really really well.
Yeah.
But he stood in there and then he came in second, and it's going to be fun to watch him. And the story is phenomenal with that horse. So that so far has been the topic, one of my top experiences in the horse business.
Yeah, just the horse, like you said, coming back from, nearly a fatal incident, and then to persevere like he did coming into the races is that's a great story. It's a good backstory. And then you've also
And
got
not
Urban
only that,
Legend you're
but
involved with.
it also shows, sometimes the business takes a knock, for several different things, right? But it also shows how well these horses do get taken care of. They
Amen to
really,
that.
really do.
Yeah.
And it showed that. And if I can tell that story a million different times, and even two or three people just change their minds of saying these horses are not taken care of. No, these horses are very, very, very well taken care of. And I've been able to see it firsthand. So story there.
They are members of the family. You talked about how it brings your family together to the races, together to the races, but they really are, they're family members for a lot of people that are involved with them.
100%. I look. We just brought back Urban Legend, and we just go down there, and I told my grandson, "Hey, Urban Legend is back." So he's over there looking at him, petting him, and yeah, man, they really are part of. They become part of the family.
Who,
Everyone knows their names in the family. Okay, how's Urban doing? Or what's Victory Avenue doing? So it's a lot of fun.
who's your grandson's favorite horse right now?
I would say. Um, I would say No More Time, and I got a story about it, and I'll tell you why. So I was at the sale when he first, No More Time, which is the Eric, the not this time. For his first time out, I watched it on TV, and he was there. He was at the race. He came in second, and he was so upset. He folded his arms. Everybody took pictures of him, and he was so upset for him to know. Then the next time out, he wins by like 8 or 9, and so my grandson is always asking about where's No More Time, where's No More Time. So that's his favorite right now.
That's his
He
favorite
forgot
horse.
about Uncle Mo for now.
It's no more time for now, and that's a horse that you guys think a lot of, and is very well meant, and could be running in the road to the Triple Crown, road to the Derby anyway.
Absolutely, yep. And we're excited. He was a $40,000 horse.
Wow. That's a pretty amazing
So we're
story. They
excited
they can
about it.
come in all shapes and sizes. I think that's what makes the game great. You had Rich
I've,
Strike,
I've
who was
learned that, and I'm learning that, right? The horse that I paid, over $1 million. I mean, he's still a great horse, and we're still expecting great things from him. But it's like you say, they come in all shapes and colors.
yeah. That's a great story, and best of luck with him. Best of luck with all of them.
Thank you.
So
For
we're
sure.
gonna kind of wrap things up here a little bit with a fun segment that we started with our most recent podcast, and we're gonna keep it going for 2024. It's called the Final Eighth. It's just 8 rapid fire questions. Some are about racing, some are about just like your favorite hobbies and so on and so forth. So it's just a chance to get to know you a little bit more and do it in a quick fashion. So for you, who is your favorite horse, whether of all time or a horse that you've got coming up? Who's your favorite horse?
Secretariat.
Secretariat. Any reason in particular?
That inspired me. To see a horse, to hear about the horse all my life, and to know a little bit more about it. Yeah, I mean, it was a great time in the business, and just to know the whole story and how he died and why he died. Having a big heart, I love it. It was. My truck is red, and my wife decided to name it Secretariat.
Nice, big red. I like it. I like it.
Yeah,
Okay, if it weren't for Rich Music, what would Rich Mendez be doing?
selling cars somewhere maybe.
Yeah. Any particular kind of car?
I'm a Mercedes guy.
A Mercedes guy. Very good.
Yeah.
Okay, besides the Triple Crown and Breeders' Cup races, what is one race that you want to win?
I'd say the Florida Derby. This is my hometown. I'm
Hometown
here.
track, premier
Yeah.
race at the hometown track, the Florida
Yeah.
Derby. Hopefully, we can get that done for you this year.
I hope so.
What is your favorite hobby outside of horse racing?
Oh man, outside of horse racing, my favorite hobby that it'd have to be fishing, but I don't do enough of it.
Any sport fishing? Do you like to go like out on the ocean or
No, I'd like to get snook, some red. I don't
yeah,
like to go out there that far. I just keep me somewhere close where I can catch some good red or snook, and I'll be good to go.
without having to have any Dramamine on board for? for
That's exactly why. That's
All right.
exactly why.
Other than the Fasig-Tipton focus, and this might be a little bit of a loaded question, what are you listening to right now? Whether it's a
Man,
podcast
what do
or a new
what do
album that's
yeah,
out.
no, let me see. What do I listen to right now? I listen to a lot of Phil Collins.
Interesting.
That's what I'm listening to. I tell you, in the heat of the night, and it's more because when my grandson is in the car, he loves that one section with the drums,
Yeah.
and he just goes crazy. So I took him to our studios the other day, put him on the big stage, had Spider-Man behind on the video, and had the drums set up, and we played it, and he just went crazy. So that's what I've been listening to lately because he loves it.
Did you have it figured out? There was a meme going around right around New Year's Eve and the week leading up to it that if you played in the air tonight at like 11:56:40, that the drum solo would come in right at midnight. You need to do that next year. There's
What
a
is it?
Yeah, there's like
11:56.
there's if you start the song at like 11:56 and 40 seconds, the drum solo comes right in at midnight.
That's about right, and I'll tell you why. Because every time I would have to wait until right after the 3 minute mark for him and tell him, "Hey, it's coming." So you're about right.
You'll have to
I'll
do
check it
that.
out.
You'll have to do that next year for him.
All right.
You've had a lot of thrilling moments already, even though you're sort of new to the industry. But what's the most thrilling moment that's happened to you so far?
Man, I tell you, I think was when we sold the filly in Maryland, right? For I think we sold her for $1 million. She We took her to Maryland because she just wasn't quite ready before, and to watch her, she breathed 10 seconds, right? And she was such a nice filly all the way around, arrogant filly. And she was just, you can get inside the stall with her, and to see the number $1 million come through on the top was a good feeling. We bought her for $250,000. So, but I think that was the best. And this because of how it happened.
Yeah,
That was probably one of the top parts. And I got into the stall and I talked to her a little bit and motivated her to show well inside the ring. So that was
she
fun.
did it. She listened. She listened.
She did. She did.
All right, you're flipping through the channels on a weeknight. What's the one show or movie that you're always going to stop and watch?
All right. It would probably be Jimmy Fallon.
Interesting.
Yeah. I like to watch Jimmy. When I have time. Listen, I go to sleep early. Because I wake up early. But if I'm flipping through, if there's not a game on, but at the same time, I'm also, I'm watching what is it, TVG?
Yeah,
I'm watching some of
got to
that
have
too.
racing
If there's
on.
Friends of Santa Anita's going on, but for the most part, would be Jimmy Fallon.
Back in the SNL days, where you go watch a replay of Jimmy Fallon from the SNL
Of
days?
course,
Yeah.
of course.
All right, and the final question here for the final eighth. You've got a table for four for your favorite meal. What's the meal? Who's at the table? Who are the other three with you?
All right, it's got to be some tomahawk and lobster. And the top four people that I would have at my table,
You only get
Man.
3 though, because it's a 4 top. So you got yourself. So you only get 3 other people.
I'd have to say, and I need an extra table, but I'd have to say it's my listen. Honestly, it's my grandson, my granddaughter, my daughter, and I'd have to add my wife in there.
Yeah, family meal. That's fair. We'll let you
Yeah,
add. We'll let you add another chair for the family meal.
yeah. Listen, that's kind of where, without them, all of this is meaningless.
Yeah. Amen to that. Amen to that. All right, that's the final 8th. Rich, I've just one thing real quick. I've noticed you'd had a lot of success with Arrogate. You guys bought some Yaupons too. Who's a horse that you're excited about for the future as far as the new sires go? You guys are really kind of heavy on Yaupon, if you will.
Yeah. So I bred to him. I have a mare we bred to him, a Mackenzie, and we went back to Yopon. Listen, we bought a couple of them, and they're beautiful. I mean, as far as their physique, they're beautiful creatures. So I'm looking forward. To be honest with you, we were talking about this yesterday. I'm looking forward to when Cody's Wish has some babies. But I think Yopon he's going to be solid. I mean, we spent a lot of money on those Yopons.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, he's an exciting horse. He's also a Gulfstream graduate himself. So
yeah, so we hope to see him winning on here soon next year. But I think we bought like 3 or 4 of them, and we stepped up pretty good on them. But we're hoping that look. I say this real quick, and I'll end this. One of the things I've noticed is people pay attention. Oh my gosh, they paid 400,000, 500,000 for this Yopon, right? Unproven. But yet we bought 4 Justifies for in the 200s. I believe his stud fee's close to 300,000, right?
yeah.
So you gotta do a little give and take. But I really do think when it's all said and done, those Yopons are going to sell very, very well and do well.
Excellent. Well, best of luck to you. We really appreciate the time. Rich Mendez, Rich Music. Check out all the fantastic artists on the Rich Music label, and we wish you the best of luck at the races too, Rich. Thanks so much for joining us.
Jeff. I really, really appreciate it. I look forward to getting back to you guys over there here coming up.
Absolutely. Thanks, Rich, and thank you everyone for joining us on the Fasig-Tipton Focus.
150, 60, 60.